The arts can be a great resource to solve problems within school. It's one of the areas that children naturally feel a lot more comfortable in. Sort of working within the arts sometimes, whether that's drama, whether it's, you know, performance, whether it's the visual arts.
I'm kind of figuring out how to do something that's going to be meaningful to you and engage your kids. That's beyond what you do, because what you do is brilliant. You've got all this stuff going on, and you're all really tuned in and focused.
It's almost getting people to create without thinking, or to respond without thinking too hard. It's turning off that kind of inner critic, that inner editor that says you can't do that, that doesn't work. And I think that's what we've been aiming for the beginning of the project.
My ideas always come in fragments, and then I have to try and put them together, piece them together in some way. They normally come from experiences that I've had, books I've read, ideas flying around somewhere that I need to bring together and link somehow so that they all work.
I think the best way of doing that is to get out in an actual physical space like this, and instead of trying to explain it secondhand, say, have a look at that. Have a look at that big building. What's it like to stand under it? What's it made of? How does it feel different when you get up really close to when you stand really far away? And let them explore it instead of trying to explain it secondhand.
Let them see what culture is in our area. We're incredibly privileged in the North East. We have lots of historical and wonderful culture around on our doorstep.
One of the challenges for our school when we are trying to introduce a creative intervention, for example, is finding a creative practitioner that is, it's not necessarily that they have the knowledge and skills base to work with our pupils, but it's more the willingness to learn and the willingness to engage with our staff.
Hiring in an artist will not fill in any spaces that teachers aren't already providing for, you know. It's like you might both be trying to aim for the same point, but you might be using completely different ways of explaining it to get there, you know what I mean?
You've got to be open-minded and open to what other people suggest as well. I think that perhaps sometimes teachers have, and artists have a concept in their own heads that they want to deliver, and that doesn't always work. You've got to be flexible and work alongside each other.
I think if you have got the confidence to do it, you should be brave enough and take risks to be able to do something from scratch and build it so it's personal to your school, to your children. I think something that's bought off the shelf often doesn't do that. You know, it doesn't take into account your own children's needs and your school's needs.
When I first started, I would go in with a preset model and be very afraid of veering off from that preset plan. But the more you do that, the more you start to anticipate the results. And I think the thing that is the most exciting for me now is to adapt to what the school wants, to adapt to the group themselves as well, get to know them, go in and be like, what do you like doing on the weekends? You know, what do you do for fun? Well, you know, what was the last book you read? You know, when you're starting to bring in their influences as well.
You have to be able to say, that's not working, we're going to do something different. So I think that's valuable in its own right. You learn a lot. I always learn when I go into schools. I learn from the teachers, I learn from the pupils. I go and watch other creative practitioners and learn from them. That's part of the joy of it.
There's a huge amount that could crop up, and I think while it's important to have a plan, we need to ensure that we're flexible and adaptable all of the time, and that we are happy to change direction, maybe not even once or twice, lots of times, depending on how they respond to what we're doing.
We're talking about creativity here. I don't know much creativity that's exactly planned to the nth term. I think it's good to go with the flow and be flexible and go where it takes you.
I'm a big believer in that you should always take risks. Often you'll go to it and think, that looks brilliant, I've seen a really good example of somebody doing that, and then the kids try it and it doesn't work. And even when you try it, it doesn't work, you know, so, and then, you know, you have to start again and try a different technique to try and get the outcome that you want to get in the end.
Risk taking for me is really making it safe enough for you to take a risk.
Like, you have to write a lot of bad poems to write a good one. You have to write a lot of bad pieces of music to write a good one. It's the process, and it's exploring, and it's having a go. And if they've all done that, then, you know.
And giving them a space in which, okay, that didn't quite work, but I like this bit.
It's part of learning. If you feel you'll do something better, or you'll do something differently, and you'll try a different method or a different technique to get the end and the impact that you want.
I think it's really important for the kids to know that you can fail. You can fail, you dust yourself off, you get back up again and you try again. And I think that's a really important lesson that, you know, that children see that adults fail. I think only thinking that children fail is like the worst thing that a child can feel. You know, they need to know that adults fail too, and that how you dust yourself off and get back up again.
When you get into creative stuff, it's not hard work. You know, it's just finding things that just unpick stuff. So then, if we were doing this, we would then like think about how to create that, so you would be able to put that feeling across.
It's the creative chaos that you hadn't planned, isn't it?
Yeah, and often that's because it's unplanned. They stop thinking about it. Just think, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And you know, instead of what was I meant to do, it's what am I going to do,
Yeah.
and they just do it.
Exactly.
What we've got to be able to do is have the TARDIS of going into this and going, whoa, hang on, what's this? Where are we going? What is happening? We need that, because that's the creative thing. You know, we need to be able to do that while still having all those structures and constraints in place. And I think we'll be able to do that because we've got a really clear focus.
You know, it's about the children. It's all very well to helicopter in, do a thing for 2 hours, everyone has a great time, brilliant. What have you actually changed though? Whereas if the children say, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it and this is ours, not that they have to articulate it, but they have to have that sense of ownership, then that sticks with them, I think, in a way that achieving something well that you've been told to achieve doesn't.
It's really important that children have pride in what they've done and celebrate it, you know, rather than it being about the adults that have been involved. Obviously, it's really important to make sure that you thank everyone that's been involved, but it's really important that the children know that they have achieved something really well and that they have that pride at the end of the project.
I think longevity of the project's really important. I don't want something standalone that we deliver once. So, you know, you and I deliver to a group of children and then that's it. We pack it in a box and that's finished. I want something that we can continue or carry on, adapt, change, make bigger even.
I think it's good that projects can get big and grow and become more than what they already are. And encourage them going across the school, that perhaps other teachers can pick up these skills and teach the other children across the school the skills that we've took on board.
As a music teacher, you almost get less time to make music than if you're a musician. And you start thinking of yourself as a teacher, particularly, you know, the pressures of being in school and the admin and the Ofsted. You start thinking, you know, it's very much, what am I going to do this lesson, or what are the students going to do? And actually, I am a musician, I can still create, I just don't have much time to do it.
Yeah.
And it's made me think a little bit about trying to make that time, trying to forge some space to stay creative, because if I'm not, I'll struggle to inspire the students to be.
Yeah, it's that, isn't it? It's having that identity.
Every project that you do comes with an element of doubt. You're always worried about whether you can pull it off or not, whether the kids are going to engage well with it, whether the artist that you've employed to do it is going to be as brilliant as you thought they were going to be. Are they going to get something at the end of it? Are you going to get an end product? Are the children going to be able to do what you were hoping they were going to achieve? And that's always filled with doubt right up until the point where you complete the project, really, and you can sort of prove whether or not you were right to doubt it or wrong.
I think working in collaboration has worked really well, because it's meant that both of us from the beginning were very much open to feedback from each other, I think. And, you know, initially I think that's where, when you have a creative practitioner come in and they're the expert in their field, I think what was quite nice was John came into our setting and said, you're going to have to help me in that respect. And I think we've done quite a lot of give and take and feedback with each other, and that's been really positive.
I think so much of creativity is about surprise and sitting in the kind of slight discomfort. So if that then enables somebody to walk past the Lang Art Gallery and go, oh, I might pop in, or pick up a book they wouldn't otherwise have seen, or watch a documentary, or listen to someone busking that they otherwise would have dismissed. You know, if you can sit in that and go, yeah, it's a bit weird, but let's try, and they've practiced that at school and then they go and do it, then that's a whole different world that's opening in tiny, tiny increments.
It's just that act of saying this space also belongs to you. You're allowed to go in here, and once more, like more than that even, not just you're allowed to go in here, you have a right to be a part of this. You know, when you get older, you might go in and bring your own work here, and that's definitely something you can and should do.
This is great. This isn't what most people do.
That's good.
Yes, very good. Good job.
A good job. Get that in, all that bigging us up just like that.
Yeah. All right.